Let's see here, folks. Make sure everything's good. One of these days, I will probably get this set up just right. So, some people have told me that there is quite a longer start video that happens that it was only supposed to be about 10 to 15 second. So I will fix that. If it is true, I will turn around and watch it on one of my other modes of viewing and pretty much just watch myself live next time. That way I'll know if I'll be able to more accurately correct the problem. So if you're not aware, my name is John. I am with FNP Wargamers, and I got the volume up too loud up here on my phone. All right. So first off, as I said, I'm John with FNP Wargamers. This is the last day you'll see this backdrop. Things are now moving around in my residence, and the studio is very, very quickly coming into shape and focus. The only thing is the walls that won't be painted. So probably by the Sunday show, I will be streaming from in there. So that'll be good. Not out here. And I'll have a nice backdrop. Well, instead of being here in the living room, I will be in my studio room. So I'm looking forward to that. So what are we going to talk about today? What is all this stuff you've got up on the screen, John? You're talking about chapter tactics and maybe kind of talking some crazy nonsense about maybe giving us some tips and tricks on how to play competitively, which, we know, John, that you don't. We know that you do not do competitive play, which isn't true. I do competitive play, and actually I've dipped out of being very serious about the competitive play since about end of 6th edition, early 7th edition. That's when I switched gears and delved deeper into the running events, being a TO, learning how to create events and host and schmooze with people so I could network and create larger events and whatnot, which I've done pretty successfully over the past few years. And then, of course, the past couple years, really since 8th edition has dropped, I have concentrated almost primarily on the hobby aspect, still running events here and there. This weekend I'm running a Warhammer 40,000 tournament at Atomic Hobby Shop. It's the monthly one. Next month I've organized a very special 2-day GT at the store, and the top prize is a Las Vegas Open championship ticket for Warhammer 40,000 plus a 3-day pass that goes to the top player, plus nearly $1,000 in prize support. So we've got a lot going on there for that event. So as I said, I like doing events and I like hobbying, as you guys know, as I've preached many, many times. But that doesn't mean I've lost that desire to keep up on the meta, keep track of tactics, especially since I still play. Recently, with the release of the new Space Marine Codex, I built a list before all these, I got a chance to look at all these supplements, and none of the supplements up until recently caught my attention. I was actually looking at using successor tactics for stealthy and stalwart, so my guys would have +1 armor save when they're out in the open if they're more than 12 inches away, and they would also get the ability to, if anybody shot them with a weapon that wounds on a 1 or a 2, well, I guess really a 2, that they wouldn't be wounded. So that's the stalwart successor chapter tactic. And then I was just going to pick, which successor they were so I could get items from them like relics and whatnot and stratagems. But all that changed recently, and we'll get to that in a moment. So let's talk about a number of things. A lot has dropped in the past couple days, so I got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to do my best to cover it all for you guys because I love sharing information with you. All right, so the first thing is there's a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff that is dropping. I'm not actually going to talk about it. Ski is going to be bringing it up. Now, he jumped on the chat, our personal chat, and said, hey guys, whoever's doing a show tonight, which we know it's always going to be me right now. Hey, don't talk about Age of Sigmar. I've got it covered. I'm really hoping that it's just that he's really excited about what's coming out, which I think I'm really leaning towards, and that I have not done a bad job of butchering talking about Age of Sigmar. I'm really hoping that's not it. I'm really hoping it's because he's super excited about what's coming out, and that I didn't just screw it up and like chase off a whole bunch of Age of Sigmar players. I hope not. If so, whatever. He'll straighten me out later. We'll have a friendly chat and he'll scold me. Sorry, as usual, I am dehydrated, especially since I started exercising again to just to be a lot healthier. I don't want to be going to tournaments and big conventions and just being worn out. So since I'm not going to be talking about Age of Sigmar, with all due respect to Ski and the actual Age of Sigmar players and not butchering, which I wanted to talk about the Age of Sigmar stuff today because some of it looks really spicy good. But I'm going to respect my friend Ski and fellow FNP member and let them do their show about Age of Sigmar, since that really is his specialty and not mine. So I am going to talk today about a number of product releases that are coming up that are not Games Workshop oriented. And then, of course, we're going to delve into talking about some the Raven Guard and the Iron Hands, which just dropped over the weekend. I don't know if you've picked them up, but we are almost completely sold out at my store, which is absolutely amazing. Just a couple, I think one or two of each Codex supplement, and then a couple the upgrade packs, I think. And all the Iron Fathers are gone. Almost all the Shrikes are gone except for one, which we're not surprised because we got an extra one in our shipment. So yay! Surprise! Just like Shrike likes to do. So I'm going to talk about the products. I'm going to talk about these tactics and whether, who's the unsung heroes, what's the good, what's the bad, based on, now keep in mind it's my opinion, but I'm looking at this not with the eyes of a casual player or somebody that's likes to go play an apocalypse game, or they're looking to play just a friendly pickup game, that sort of thing. Even if you do want to do a pickup game, it's still information that could help you. And this, I'm not giving you top tier information. You're not paying me $100 a month to give you 15 minutes of advice on how to be a top tournament player, whatnot. I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks. And maybe if you don't play these armies, maybe you're going to see, hey, this is something I need to expect, something I need to prepare for. Or your army might have something that is very similar that you might be able to go, you know what? I like that idea, that I like that tactic. I'm going to see if I can apply it to my army. So there might be something in here. Now, after I get through, I'm going to basically break it down to the products, and then we're going to talk really quick, or not really quick, we're going to talk about the Raven Guard, and then I'm going to give you a juicy rumor. Juicy rumor. I got this from a very reliable source, almost as reliable as Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'm still going to say treat it as a 100% rumor, y'all. It until you see it manifest, and of course some of it has to do with their opinion and their excitement level, like I get with Space Marines. Take it as a pinch of salt. As usual, it is a rumor until you always see confirmation, but it's a good one, and there's going to be a particular faction that is going to be very, very happy, very, very happy. And then another very weak one that I don't put a lot of credibility in, but I'm just going to go ahead and report on it because, if it comes true, then you heard it from us first, and that's awesome. Take a drink, and then we're going to dive in because there's some good stuff, as you can see on the screen right now. All right, got my Imperial Fist Cup. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it because, man, that stuff is just, if you take any pre-workouts, you know what it's like to get absolutely dehydrated. Oh, okay. So we're going to talk about this amazing thing that popped up today when I was at work, and I was very excited. I really wish I would have paid attention to the marketing that I always see pop through, like, hey, this is new stuff that's coming out or that's out. Do you want this? Yes or no? That sort of thing. Get pre-orders on. I missed this, and I'm a little ashamed that I did. But I'm not too worried about it because, sorry about that, because it doesn't come out until December. So I got some time, but at least I can report on it with you. So what this is, if you're not familiar, is when you're painting, there's a thing that you can do. It's called a wet palette. And it's a good way to preserve your paint, especially if you got some mixtures. And this thing's going to help you walk you through how you prep it. I'm not going to go through all the details, but basically how you prep your tray, how you prep your paint, especially if you got a great mixture, you don't want it to dry out, or while you're painting, you don't want to keep dipping into the pot back and forth. This thing is going to help you, and you'll see in the pictures, and you can do your research online and whatnot. So you would think that after all these years, I've used wet palettes. I haven't. I have never, ever, ever used one. And in fact, today I just ordered a whole bunch of GW ones for our store. So, or where I work. And then I see this and I'm like, God dang it. But thankfully it's not till December. So let's get on with this. So for $25, this awesome looking palette is coming out. So let's explore what's coming in that. So you can already see right there, 2 hydro foams and 50 times hydro sheets. What does all that mean? Heck if I know, but we're going to figure that out. So what this does, you can see right there, you got your paints on there, and I'm not a big fan of the Army painter stuff. Some of their paints are really good. They're strong. Their tones are really good. Some of their paints, others, I'm just like, holy crap, this is better in Games Workshop or Citadel, whatnot. Anyways, so as I'm looking here, looks like it's a full tray with a little strap, that probably an elastic strap that you can wrap around. We'll read the description here in a moment. And then looks like here's your actual wet palette where you're going to be putting your little foam inserts. That's what's going to be getting wet, the little hydro foam. And that's what you're going to have your paints on. And then it looks like, and we'll find out here in a second, a tray for your brushes. Sorry about having this go, the thingamajig go around in circles here. And let's go on. And I'm going to say this is very clever marketing also, is look at this hand. More than likely, it's very feminine looking in this day and age of, don't assume my gender. It's very feminine looking, and I think it's very clever that they put a woman's hand in there because it's in a lot of cases a little bit more pleasing than a big hairy meaty gorilla Cro-Magnon hand. But also when women will look at that, or young girls that are just getting into the hobby, especially if their parents are involved or boyfriends, husbands, whatnot, and they're going to be saying, oh look, girls do it too. And which is, this is one of those hobbies where we have a deficit of female players. They do exist, but unfortunately they hide a lot, I think, because of the behavior of about half of the male gamers. So the opportunity here for them to advertise in this is really, really good. It's very subtle, but it's enough to go, oh, I'm going to get this for my daughter or my wife, that sort of thing. So very cool, very cool. It's a minor thing. So, oh, hey, look at this. Quick step. Put some water on your hydro foams, put it in your bottom of your tray, put those 50 hydro sheets over it. So you're getting 2 of these hydro foams, 50 of these hydro sheets to put over it, wipe out air bubbles, and then, oh, there you go. Then you put your paint on. Well, that is easy. Now I regret not doing this earlier. Man, now I feel stupid. Okay, so let's see what else is going on here. We still got more clicks. There's their model, or I'm not sure. Yeah, those are the models from a number of their board games. Or not their board games, but probably stuff from Asmodee or Fantasy Flight Games that they are embedded with, or Cool Mini or not. Those look like Zombicide Black Plague. Quote me or correct me if I'm wrong. Put that in the chat. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so you can see he's got the wet palette there. Oh yeah, and look right there. All those brushes nicely put in there, keeping well protected. And I don't know how those will do with the round brushes, especially their smaller line. They have a red brush that's very thin, and these ones are like a triangular piece. These are really my favorites. The Regiment and their character brushes. So I'm not sure how that's going to work with a round brush. But they give you a tray right there. So, but I imagine though that those don't just magically stick there unless this tray sits on top of the hydro tray. So there's your top on the left. Put that over this, which is over this. And safety strap. Okay. Now the hydro foams and the hydro sheets you're not going to carry around with you. You're going to be keeping those in your home. But if you're going somewhere to paint, or even if you just want to store it in your room so you don't knock stuff over, if you got kids or cats that like to knock stuff over, go ahead and seal it all up. Keep it protected. It looks like you can hold 4, 5, at least 6 brushes in the main holder area. And then who knows how many of these smaller ones, but you probably don't have a lot of these smaller ones. Now, I don't know how this is going to work out with the Games Workshop or the Citadel brushes. I'm trying to look to see if I've got one. Yeah, I do, but I don't have any of the Army Painter ones. I've got them at the store because I was painting for the store. Oh, well, we'll test it out in December. That'll be awesome, won't it? All right, so there we go. Okay, so a little bit more advertising. Hey, get our mega paint set and our complete paint set and all this. Their paints, like I said, are relatively okay. I would say spend the extra money, get the Citadel paints, or go for like Citadel Contrast. I'm really starting to like those more and more, or Vallejo paints. These are a real backup paint if you just need something to, like one of these colors for mixing. Okay, cool. Grab those for mixing with your Citadel or your Vallejo paints. So, okay. So let's take a look at the description here. I guess we didn't need to. So, look at that. Yep, December 7th. Release date, December 7th, 2019. That's good. So that means I'm going to have to order probably about a dozen of those for my store. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so I'm hoping we're not going to have an issue with this next little reveal. So that was the wet palette from the Army Painter. So I'm going to be getting this. A lot of the Army Painter's tools and brushes I dig. It's just the paints a real hit or miss. I would say more miss than hit. Like I said, go with their tones. Their precision clippers are really good. I'd put them on par with the Citadel ones, which I think are more superior, but they're a little bit more expensive. It's one of those things, I always say, go ahead and buy the quality ones over, the cheaper ones. Unless the cheaper ones are the only ones that are there, then I understand. But I would say go with quality because it's going to last longer. All right, so Citadel over Army Painter for their tools, but Army Painter tools are just a shade behind the Citadel. Just the pricing is a little bit better, but quality wise, I'm dragging on. Let's go on to the next very cool thing. Orc players. This is not a Games Workshop item. This is from Cromlech over in Poland, I believe it is Poland. Now, these guys and gals have sponsored Warzone Houston a couple of times. Actually, for the past 3 years, they've given us stuff. And I really love their stuff. They got some really great stuff, but they really do have a heavy focus on orc stuff, which is great because some of their orc stuff is really zany, really crazy. So if you are looking for an alternative model for your orc commander, or maybe some grots, like a grot commander, like something for your orc army, I would say check out Cromlech and order from them. Now, obviously, the Citadel miniatures from Warhammer are from Games Workshop far superior in quality. But I got to give it to Cromlech. They've got some talented folks there. So, oh no, I just double clicked on that. Man, something is wrong with this mouse. All right. So I'm going to watch your volume, ladies and gents. I'm going to start a video here. It's a final reveal trailer for October, and it's great that Games Workshop started this before with October years and years and years ago. Last year they kind of dropped the ball. They did October 34th, as a lot of people were memeing, because everything came out actually in November instead of October. It was a real letdown, but I think they've since have recovered. So let's watch this video and tell me what you think as soon as it plays, if it's gonna play. Hold on 1 second. Maybe it is not gonna play. Well, poo on you. You just make me mad. We'll give them a chance here to redeem themselves with a quick. Maybe I can jump along here. There we go. Let's watch this together. Watch your volume. Very interesting. Lots of new products. Look at those tanks. Very World War II-esque. Looks like an orc dirigible. That's pretty freaking awesome. And their version of like a Daka jet. Holy crap. Oh, I love their squig bombs. Oh, this will be interesting. Oh, look at that. Ah, these are amazing. Games Workshop, if you are listening, you are paying attention, hire whoever it is that came up with this. They should be doing all of your orc stuff. Very World War II, German-esque. Not Nazi, but free CD. Oh my God, I have to find out when all this happens. I have got to make sure that my friend Clint secures this. Is that Wrecking Ball? God dang it. He's dirty. Oh, look at that beautiful hunk of junk. Oh God, I need that. Oh man, I gotta copy that and share that with my good friend Clint. All right, so let's take a look at this next thing that they reveal. Look at this awesome, massive tank, optional tank commander. Cool little back hatch that can be swapped out, and lots of big, silly orc guns. I mean, look at that little front turret. It's usually like a little machine gun. They got rockets, some sort of zappy gun, more rocket launchers, more Daka, some big cannon. Oh my God, look at this. 9 weapon options. Look at this thing, big, ugly death roller. Oh, well done, Cromlech. Well done. So we just had our month of chaos. So I gotta find. I'm gonna do the research and I'll put it up on the Facebook page, ladies and gents, when Orktober really starts. I imagine it's on the first of what do you call it? October. Sorry. So you can see they got lots of there's a probably not safe for work item on there. So lots of crazy stuff. I'm looking forward to all they got showing. So let's jump over and let's talk right now about the Raven Guard. All right, so I'm going to break this down in several ways. I'm going to talk about their chapter doctrine, the warlord traits, chapter relics, chapter psionics or psychic tree, and chapter stratagems. Basically the winners, losers, maybes, if you want to use. So before I do that, let's do a caveat. Remember remember the rule that all Space Marines have right now is the shock assault. That's that +1 attack if you charge, were charged, or heroically intervened. And remember your Devastator and tactical doctrines and assault doctrines that apply that additional -1 AP. All right. So first up, talking about the chapter doctrines, let's talk about the surgical strikes. Now, when the tactical doctrine is active, I'm going to read this kind of verbatim here. When resolving an attack made by a model with this ability against a character unit, you can add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls. That's when the tactical doctrine is up. So, when a tactical doctrine is up, your Raven Guards that have the, or your successor chapters that have the surgical strike chapter doctrine is what I'm calling them. I don't know what the actual terminology is, but chapter doctrine fits. So during that surgical strike, you're going to have +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and you're going to have that already -1 to your AP during the tactical doctrine. So against characters. So that's already amazing. It's already amazing. It's really a big surprise on how big that +1 or that -1, that impact it makes on that little D6 dice. All right. So let's get into Warlord traits. My picks for winners. If you have these, I'm just going to kind of give you a really brief description of these. I'm not going to read them all because there's 6. I'm not going to go through every single thing word for word. My top ones right now are Shadow Master. The Warlord cannot be subject to Overwatch. And Swift and Deadly, I think, is another one of the winners. Friendly Raven Guard units, that if you're within 6 inches of them, they can charge even if they advance that turn. And that's not pick a unit, it's friendly units within 6 inches. I think that's my favorite one right now, and we're going to be getting into that later. My maybes, there's a Master of Ambush, which lets you move around. You can select a Raven Guard unit, infantry unit, and move them around on the table. I think the one in the Space Marine Codex, or the Phobos, the Master of Deceit, that lets you do up to 3 Phobos units, is a lot better. But you might find some use in that. Repositioning a heavy hitting tank, you can use that as a kind of like a Master of Deception type thing, and put your executioner out front, and then maybe trick your opponents into setting up, some juicy units to take them out, and then reposition. Or maybe not your executioner because it's got to be infantry, but whatever juicy infantry unit you want out there, put it in a basically a feint type thing, and then make your opponent set up opposed to that. So we'll see. Oppressors, or not oppressors, and Echo of Ravenspire. During this one, you can basically make your Warlord vanish if they are more than 6 inches away from enemy models, and then you place them later. That one's okay. It could be very clutch if you are down to 1 wound. You don't want to give up Slay the Warlord and probably like Headhunter, or if you're doing like ITC missions, or if there's a mission where it's like kill the Warlord and he's about to die. I could see if that would be good. Feigned Flight is another good one. It's still in my maybes. That one lets you fall back across models and terrain, and then you can shoot and charge even though you fell back. So that's a very, I think, a good one. It's in between maybe and winner. I'm keeping it with the maybes. The one I'm not a big fan of is the Master of Vigilance. This is kind of one that you're going to probably be seeing in all of or something similar in all of the supplements. Basically, for him, it's a melee. Whenever you resolve melee attacks, unmodified rolls of 6 inflict a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. That is good, but if you are not doing a close combat style army, then you're out of luck. That's kind of a waste. So it's not really a loser. It's just not my first choice. So that's that real quick. So let's go over some chapter relics. My favorite right now, and you'll find that out later, is the Raven's Fury. It's a jump pack, or replaces a jump pack, I should say. It allows you can choose to charge even if you advance that turn. This is going to be key to remember. When a charge roll is made for that model, you can re-roll that charge, And if you happen to end your charge, which you should be, within 1 inch of an enemy model, that unit on a 4+ will suffer an extra mortal wound, just free. Just, hey, here you go. Here's a mortal wound. Suck it. That is, I think, a really, really good one to have. So, the next relic, I really, really love this because I like the Phobos captains with their Instigator bolt rifles. Now you can swap out their Instigator bolt carbine with the X Tenebris. It's a masterwork bolter. Now here's what's cool about this. Well, I'll get into what's cool about it here in a moment. It's actually one of my little breakdowns. I think it's one of my breakdowns. Yeah, it's under my character killing breakdowns. Really good one. 36-inch range, assault 3, strength 4, -2, 2 damage. So keep that in mind. The next one is actually the last one, and it's for the winners. This is under the special issue war gear. It's the Silentus pistol. You basically replace a bolt pistol or heavy bolt pistol. Pistol 2, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. And you can target a character even if it's not the closest enemy unit, and you get to add +1 to hit roll. So you are going to be very brutal with that. 2 pistol shots, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. Hell yeah. And if you happen to have that up in the right phase, that could be -3 AP. Still, -2 AP is really good. My maybes for the chapter relics is Armor of Shadow. It's okay. This might be one of the losers, but it basically makes it really hard to if you're a character. Let's see here. I'm going to read this one. Resolving attacks with a weapon that has an AP of -1 against this model. The weapon is treated as having an AP 0. In addition, when resolving attacks against a model from your army with this relic, an unmodified hit roll of 1, 2, or 3 always fails. You know what? Actually, I might have to keep that in the maybes. That's actually that last part is actually pretty good. 1, 2, or 3 always fail. Yeah. I'm going to keep that right there. Never mind. Oppressor's End's another really good one. Not a really good one. It's an okay one. It's you replace your combat knives, so your sergeants from your incursor squads or your lieutenants. +1 strength, -2 AP, 1 damage, so nothing great. But you always fight with an additional attack with this weapon. And if you're attacking a character unit, and you'll be seeing a lot of this stuff with the Raven Guard attacking character units, this weapon has a damage characteristic of 3. So that goes from being a meh type of weapon to this is a character killing weapon. 3 damage, you're going to be strength 5, -2, and doing 3 damage. And your average lieutenant, I think, is 4 or 5 attacks now. In fact, I'll just crack open this book while I'm looking at the next one, getting ready for the next one. Ebon Claws, if you've got the, if you happen to have the Codex available, or the Codex supplement, take a peek at that. But this, I want to see what these lieutenants are. So your lieutenant in Phobos armor, 4 attacks, 5 on the charge, 6 with this weapon. So 6 attacks at AP -2, strength 5, 3 damage against characters. That's up to, what is that? Up to 18 damage. You're damn good chance of killing a character with that. My other one I liked is Ebon Claws. Pair of lightning claws, so you're going to get extra attacks. You have to replace it with lightning claws, so you're not going to be putting on any of your Phobos armor guys. And you can't put it on Shrike because you can't give them the relics. But it's -3 AP, D3 damage. In addition, I think it's just because it's that -3 and the D3 damage. It's a little bit more potent. That's what I liked about it. But it's still a maybe. My biggest loser for this is the Raven Skull or Corvad. Once per turn, when resolving an attack made by a model from your army with this relic, they can re-roll the hit roll, wound roll, or damage roll. In addition, if a model from your army with this relic is destroyed as a result of the attack, until the end of the battle, when resolving attacks made by a friendly unit against that unit, you add 1 to the hit roll. I mean, it's okay, but there's a lot juicier ones. It's not bad. It's just there's better ones to take over that one. Unless you were to somehow give it to a sergeant, run that suicide sergeant up into some big badass unit, let them get wiped out, and then now the rest your army would be +1 to hit rolls against that unit. Like, oh, let's go ahead and sacrifice these infiltrators to Mortarion, so now we're all +1 to hit Mortarion, maybe. I don't know. So let's get on to psychic powers real quick. You know what? I'm just going to talk about the winners for the psychic powers. Enveloping Darkness, essentially you're going to be able to select a unit and negate their ability to overwatch. And when resolving an attack made by that unit, subtract 1 from their hit rolls. That one is a big winner. The Spectral Blade, I think, is fantastic. You're going to be you're swapping your strength for basically creating a psychic sword of living shadow. And you are swapping your strength for your leadership. So now you're going to be probably strength 9 and more than likely -3 or -4 AP for that weapon. So that could make psychers, your librarians, extremely potent. And then, Umbral Form is another good one I really like. Low casting value, but it gives your psyker a 4+ invulnerable save, which they need. That should have been an option they could pick up. So I'm not going to go into the other ones because I don't want to run out of time with you guys and just droll on and bore the ever-living heck out of you. So stratagems, though, this is where we're going to get into. I'm just going to talk about the top stratagems, but I'll tell you what my maybes and my losers are. So the top ones that we're going to talk about is Raven's Blade. What this one will do is it allows when a charge roll is made by a Raven Guard unit in your army, you can reroll the dice if that unit is the only one selected, the only selected target. So if you got a juicy unit you're going after and you want to make sure you guys are there, spend that 1 command point to get the Raven that unit there with the Raven's Blade, and that way you know that you're going to get your Vanguard or Centurions there. All right, so jumping on the next one so we can keep going. False Flight. Even if you fell back, the unit can shoot and charge in this turn. 2 command points. It's a little pricey, but if you're using some units that are really good for close combat and it's the end of your turn or the end of your opponent's turn, it'd be a good time to fall back, or whenever you have a chance to fall back, or I guess it'd be in your turn, fall back, shoot, and then charge again. Get that shock assault roll. Remember that +1 attack. And let's see, Strike from the Shadows. I think this one is still good. You can take an infantry unit from your army that's Raven Guard, and you can set up that unit in ambush instead of setting it up on a table. If you do, at the end of one of your movement phase, which you get to choose, which probably needs to be done before turn 4, so you need to do it in 1 or probably 2 or 3 or even 1. If you do at the end of one of your movement phase, you can set up that unit anywhere in the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy. That is a much weaker version of what they used to have, but that's okay. We're okay with that. So the other one I liked was Deadly Prize. Deadly Prize lets you select one objective marker that's within 3 inches of a infantry unit and units from your army and not within 3 inches of an enemy unit. The next time an enemy unit ends a move within 3 inches of that objective marker, you're going to roll a dice. They're going to suffer D3 mortal wounds or a straight 3 mortal wounds if you roll like a 5 or higher. Now, what is cool and kind of bad about this cool part is that you can keep playing this every turn, and it's only 1 command point, but you can only place it on a different objective marker at a time. So you're probably going to pull this off 2 or 3 times. 3 probably being the max, but 2 times is going to be really good. That might be clutch in taking an objective and killing a unit, basically getting double points for that. All right, so let's do a real quick analysis. Oh, here's my maybes. The See But Remain Unseen, Decapitating Blow, and Master the Trifold Path. Actually, I probably need to move Master Trifold Path to the winners. That's one that lets you generate an additional Warlord trait for your Warlord. So that's really good. And then, of course, Stranglehold, I think, is probably the worst one out of here. I'm not going to read that, but I don't see it being used all too often. There's too many juicy ones to be using. So let's do a quick analysis of Raven Guard. I feel like they're very uniquely designed for striking at your headquarters and character elements. That should be actually very relevant based on all their relics, stratagems, their chapter doctrines, whatnot. And then getting around where you need to be. And early in the game or even mid-game, pretty much they can be all over the place. This is probably a good time that you're probably guys and gals, you're going to see a return of Vanguard veteran units, probably more than anything else because they're a little cheaper, or not cheaper, but a little bit more. I think they're a little bit more uniquely suited than the other one. I think you're going to see is the Centurion squads. And the reason why I like the Vanguard veterans over them is the Vanguard have a lot more movement ability with the jump packs and a little bit more survivability with that 3-up. Now, they don't have the wound counts that the Centurions have, but I think movement and that extra protection over those wounds might, and plus the rest of their equipment, might be a better feel. But let's get on to some combos. Now, these are some top combos that I'm looking at. I don't know if they are going to be game winning, but I think that, everything is really situational when you're playing this game in the first place. You always have to pay, your tactics are about 25%. Your army selection is about 25% of the game. So there's your 50%. And then about 50%, or, go over and shrink down the other two, is your dice rolls. So no matter how good of a player you are, no matter how good of army you are, your tactics are sound, you came up with this great synergy, everything, the dice are going to fail you. So there's nothing you could do about that. Let me take a drink. All right, so this is a combo that I'm looking at. It's just one of probably many combos, but I see captains with jump packs coming back, and I realize that Smash Captain's got a overall, I think, about a total 15-point increase. Not great, and it put a lot of people off from the Smash Captain, but their value did not go away, especially when you give that captain the Raven's Fury relic and you give them that Swift and Deadly Warlord trait. So that Raven's Fury is going to allow them to advance and charge, and the Swift and Deadly is going to allow any units within 6 inches of them get their get that advance and charge. Still be able to charge even though they advanced. That's going to become key. Now, if you do not take Strike, I would recommend spending 1 command point to give him, this captain, Master the Trifold Path, so he has Shadow Master. With Shadow Master, he now has that extra snazzy ability to ignore Overwatch. Makes him a little bit more survivable. So here's a couple combo options that you can think about. Take some Assault Centurions for about 125, 26-ish points. Maybe spend some command point for Infiltrators. That's a stratagem that lets you sneak them up forward. That first turn, you can get your captain within or just beyond the infiltrated unit, because remember, your captain can go 12 inches and then advance. So he could probably catch up to the Centurions pretty quick. And then, of course, have that assault unit, that assault Centurions, who always have difficulties getting anywhere, have them move and advance as well. And you're probably got them primed for a first turn charge. Now, if the other thing I would recommend is combine that little mini combo there, and I'm only basing this on a 3 Assault Centurions rule, and you guys might be able to find a better way of getting that captain there. You might maybe deep striking him at the end of the turn, so that might make him a little bit more primed, I guess, to help execute some of these combos. Then I'm going to recommend you get at least a 5-man Vanguard, Veteran Squad, Jump Packs, Thunderhammer, Storm Shields. You're looking at under 200 points, probably about 170-ish. I'm not going to give you the exact points because I'm not sure if I'll get in trouble for giving exact points. So now you're pretty much primed for some multiple first-turn charges. A couple other options. You can add a Librarian with a Jump Pack, get them to advance and target an enemy unit. Now, I would definitely recommend this. Target an enemy unit with enveloping darkness to protect one of your charging units like your Centurions or your Vanguard veterans. You want to really keep them safe. And if a librarian with a jump pack is too much, I think a cheaper option is the Phobos librarian, because they can deploy within 9 inches of the enemy. They got sneaky. They've got that extra camo cloak that gives them +2 to their save while they're in cover. So really cool there. Another thing that you could do with them is give them a Spectral Blade if you want to get them into close combat, or Shadow Step to maybe transport a chaplain from one end of the board to the other, so you can get them really close to your charging units and use their aura ability, their litanies. So now keep in mind, I'm going to recommend that Vanguard units at least a 5, well, they got to be 5-man with jump packs, Thunderhammer, Storm Shields, around 170-ish points, give or take 5. Make sure that sergeant, you spend one command point for Favorite of the Ravenspire, and give them the make that Thunderhammer Master Crafted. Now that gives you +1 damage, so he's going to be rocking in about 4 attacks, strength 8, AP -3, 4 damage. That's going to be really good. Now, remember, keep in mind shock assault, ladies and gents. So, you got your captain when you're able to charge. Now, this is all ideal, the ideal conditions. And as much as it, theory crafting is great, but we're only talking about the most optimized situations. We're not taking into account really what's going to happen to the dice rolls, because when we theory craft and go, well, it only has this sort of percentage chance, blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? You are right. It only has that percentage of chance, but you're operating in a vacuum. You're not taking into account what that dice roll is going to do. You're not going to you cannot take into account the surface that it's rolling on. You can't take into account any imperfections in the dice. You can't take into account any variations at the temperature. And these sound like small petty things, but they are true. They are true elements that actually affect your dice rolls. And also, what surface are they hitting when they stop rolling? Are they rounded? Are they square? So, those percentages only get you so far. So yes, in a vacuum, you only have maybe a 67% chance to hit with your 3-up or whatever that percentage is. Okay, cool, but that's not actual, when you're actually in gameplay. So just remember all that when I talk about these. I'm only giving you guys the maximum effects. So your captain's going to be hitting on your 2+, reroll 1s for all, or all if you have Shrike there, or if you make that captain a chapter master. Now he's going to have 5 attacks, and they're going to be D3 each. I'm sorry. Oh, damage 3 each. Sorry, didn't read my handwriting there. 3 damage each. So that means that captain is going to be able to dish out up to 15 damage. Those at least the 4 guys, not counting the sergeant of the Vanguard unit, but the 4-man Vanguard unit, they're going to be hitting on 3s, reroll 1s, or all, depending on what you got there. That's 12 attacks from them, doing 3 damage each. So right now they're up to 36 damage. So that's quite a bit. Now when you add in that sergeant who's doing all of that, but with 4 attacks and 4 damage each, that's an additional 16 damage. So that means that squad has upwards to 42 points of damage that they can dish out in one turn, potentially. That's the maximum. Remember that. So you're looking at 16 attacks from that squad. Now that 3-man Centurion squad, same thing, hit on 3s. You've got your reroll 1s or all with whoever character you have there. You have 13 attacks total from those 3 guys, and then 3 damage each. So it's upwards to 39 damage. So a little less, only 3 points less than the Vanguard veteran squad, and cheaper. So it's just something to think about. But remember, those Assault Centurions only move 4 inches. That's not good. So, total potential damage right there is around 106 points of damage, potentially, or maxed out for about 450-ish points, give or take. Now, if you toss a chaplain in there, get him with the Canticles of Hate, that gives you an extra 2 inches to your charge, really good one. If you got 2 chaplains in there, that's even better because you can have one pop that. The other one can have the exhortation of rage, which means that your to hit rolls, if you roll 6s, you get an additional hit whenever you're rolling to hit in close combat. Those are both really good ones, which potentially could, as I'm looking at based on those exhortation of rage, those exploding 6s, ideally, let's say every single one of your attacks hit, every single one is a 6, so they're all exploding with an additional hit. You're looking at essentially double the damage, so you're around 212, up to 212 damage for about 550, a little bit less than 550 points. Mind you, that's all in a vacuum, but you can see how a chaplain's buff could really help, especially with that 2-inch charge and or the exhortation of rage. So, and I could be wrong, that I had to double check that canonical or the exhortation of rage. That might only affect 1 unit. I cannot reach my codex just yet. So regardless of that or not, you're going to essentially potentially double one of those units attacks and damages. So you're looking at between, let's see here, spend another 3 command points for Honor the Chapter and have that Vanguard squad or that Assault Centurion squad fight again. This is going to be great when you have multiple knights out there. You're going up against any knights, or you got those very freaking annoying Iron Hands units that are ignoring a lot of the, or they're getting healed really quickly. Well, this is going to drop them really quick. The Honor the Chapter lets you fight again. And I don't think it's specified when you can fight. It just says lets you, at the end of the fight phase, you can fight again. So I would probably, if you haven't killed what you needed to kill, I would spend the 3 command points and kill it, especially if it was a knight, which gives you a potential extra 42 or 39 points of damage. Now, if we go off that first one without the chaplain buff, man, that puts you at around 145 or 148 potential damage. Spend another command point for Hammer of Wrath. When that Vanguard unit charges, they can do additional wounds, just like Shrike and the Captain can. So on a 4-up, they cause an additional mortal wound. It's just extra damage. So whether you're going to want to use it or not, I don't know. Remember when I was talking about, I'm going to get this next part, is the character killing part. I talked about the Ex Tenebris in the beginning. I'm going to get to that. But this earlier part that I just talked about, I think you're going to need to really look at your captains, your chaplains, and your librarians for this army. And you're going to be wanting to have those overlapping buffs, and you're going to want some very devastating close combat units that can get in. And yeah, they might be a little suicidal, but I'd rather spend 175 points to take out a 500 point or 600 point Knight Titan. That's an easy sacrifice for me. I would easily sacrifice that. So that's something that you guys really need to consider. And keep in mind that that's for basically a 5-man Assault Centurion squad, which is almost the same price as the Vanguard. You are going to be adding on 6 attacks, potentially another 18 points of damage. Yeah, and so a little bit more, actually a lot more than the Vanguard can put out. But remember, those Centurions are really slow. So really pay attention to how you're going to get them across the board and how you're going to support them with their moving and advancing and charging. That's going to be really, really important. Really look at how those stratagems overlap. The Raven's Blade, the not false flight, but Strike from the Shadows, Infiltrator. Those are going to be really good ones to get your guys where you need them. So character killing combo. My favorite guys are the Phobos Captains. Ex Tenebris Relic for increased is going to really increase your character sniping potential. And you toss in the Lay Low the Tyrants, which gains they gain a +1 rune roll against characters. So this is great turn 1 when you have the Devastator Doctrines up. Your Devastator Doctrines are going to give you that -1 AP. So why that -1 AP is up, that Ex Tenebris is now an AP -3 because you know what? I'm sorry, Tactical Doctrine. Anyway, so you're going to get +1 to wound characters. You combine that with the tactical doctrine and surgical strike. That captain right now, who normally hits on a 2+, is now hitting on essentially ones. But ones is always a failure. So if there's any minuses, not anymore, unless it's more than a minus more than -1. You're going to get +2 to your wound roll. This is with a strength 4 weapon. So that means knights, you're going to be wounding on a 4. Yeah, you're going to wound them on a 4 because you would wound most knights on a 6, 5, 4. Yep. So with a 36-inch range, you're going to be assault 3, strength 4, AP -3 when you have the tactical doctrine up, and it's a 2 damage weapon, guys. And you'll wound even the toughest characters on a 4 up. More than likely, if it's not like a knight or something, or somebody that's really juiced up, you're going to be wounding them on like a 3+ or a 2+. And you toss in a couple other things like decapitating blow. If you manage to kill the enemy warlord, that's going to lower that leadership army wide. You could pick up with that trifold path. Oh, never mind. That's a melee weapon. We don't care about that. So for 90 points, you can pretty much get a character killer, which would be really good against heavy character armies like Genestealer cults and let's say some chaos armies, especially demons with lots of heralds popping around. Maybe some marine armies and guard armies. So really a lot of potential there. The other one I want to talk about before we move on to the rumors, the juicy rumor, and a real quick breakdown of the Iron Hands. I want to talk about Kai Van Shrike. So remember that captain combo I gave you guys earlier? You can actually have Shrike alongside the captain, and Shrike does not have to be your warlord. If he is your warlord, then he has to take Shadow Master. So make that captain, unless I missed a rule, and you guys can correct me, that where it says that he has to be your warlord. If you can give Shadow Master to that captain and still have Shrike on the board, as long as Shrike is not your warlord. Now, what makes him really cool is that he's 14-inch move, so that he's getting anywhere at breakneck speed, guys. And add in, you toss in a couple other units next to him, like some Vanguard units, like I just mentioned, that are advancing and charging, and they're going to benefit from his Winged Deliverance ability, which allows you to advance. Is that advance and charge? Winged Deliverance? Yes. Reroll charges within 6 inches of him. And if you happen to be close to that captain with that other ability that he's got, from the Swift and Deadly Warlord trait, and they're overlapping their bonuses, then you are going to be able to advance with those guys and charge. And reroll those charges because of Shrike. Now, Shrike, before you get into close combat, make sure you use that gosh darn pistol of his, Blackout. That has a potential of doing 6 damage, 2 of which are mortal. Every round, and do that every round that you can. You've got to give yourself a reminder because it is too good to pass up. And don't forget that when he charges in, he's going to be hitting with 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, variable wounding because of the surgical strike, tactical doctrines, or assault doctrines, and what his attacks do. Up to, he's going to be able to dish out up to 14 damage with reroll wounds. And don't forget, just like the captain and the Vanguard squad that you can pop that Hammer of Wrath stratagem on, he does a mortal wound also when he charges on a 4 up. So you got to remember that also Shrike gives the ability to reroll hits. Not hit rolls of 1, but all hits. So if you have some sort of abilities, shooting abilities or close combat abilities that you want to get 6s on, like say, you've got somebody hitting, you've got that chaplain buff up with that Exhortation of Rage, and you got Shrike right by there, so that's going to reroll all hits. So you know what? If you hit with all of your attacks, but none of them are 6s, man, I would risk it. Roll those attacks again to try to get those exploding 6s and pop off a whole bunch more attacks. So this is definitely a fast-moving, character-killing style army. You're going to still want some heavy-hitting, ranged attacks. I'm going to say probably have those a couple repulsor executioners in the back. That's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you one bit, especially what you're going to be saving on with the rest of the army. So this army is going to be really set up for getting your troops closer than you want or that your opponent wants, and then getting in there and getting that, well, surgical strike in. So let me talk about real quick here. Let me check. You know what? Before we go